50K, does that include the retirement benefits or not? I'm sorry, not
The health
employee
benefits?
I didn't mean that.
No.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't.
It's just, it's an average salary.
Dr. Manville brings up a good point. We're using the number 324,000 that we're off. But if we need to lay off employees, then we will have to add unemployment costs to that number. Out of the 6 teachers, two teaching staff are retiring. So we could need to add unemployment for 4 teachers, a custodian, and then a paraprofessional. That number's not in there. There would be some offsets because of health insurance costs would certainly go down. So we're just sticking with the budget number. We have not added a cost factor for unemployment. Which, Carl, when we talked about 6 positions,
We usually use a figure of 36%. You take gross salary, multiply times 36%, that is generally the unemployment cost that they recommend that you use, and experience has shown us is legitimate.
questions, anyone? Anyone would like to hear from the administrators if you want to ask the impact on classroom sizes, electives, they're here to give you further insight.
So maybe it's a naive question, but if you could just educate me on, we have a food services contract, and I never see that on the list that you guys look at. Is that a state required that you don't look at food services, maybe as an option of cutting instead of being a teacher? Can you give me a little insight on the food service contract and why it's never looked at? Maybe it's through the subcontract out, or try to do through the Parents Teachers Association or something like that?
Sure. To begin with, the entire food service operation is separate from the general fund. In other words, it's not appropriated at town meeting. It's called a revolving fund or an enterprise fund, meaning that it's a self-supporting set of activities separate from the tax base. So if we were to say right here, let's lay off some food service workers, for example, that would not help us in our problem because it's a separate and distinct and segregated set of activities. Presently, we do subcontract the management of the food services program. We go out to bid on a frequent basis, and most recently last spring went out to bid and engaged a contract with Chartwell Dining Services to provide management services that consists of 1 employee and the management structure of it. The food service workers are town of North Reading employees paid out of this revolving account. So I'm not sure if I answered your question.
No, that helps a lot. I
Okay.
didn't know the structure behind it.
Yeah. So it is distinct from the general fund appropriation.
Marcy?
Thank you. I have a question that may be actually more a factual question for the board of finance committee members that are here. It appears that the available funds versus the adjusted budget is 1.4% less. The available funds are 1.4% less than the adjusted budget and 3.1% less than the level services budget. Is the same ratio being experienced on the municipal side? If the available funds are, are less than they were for level services budget last year?
The municipal side is budget, because commercial bonds have to be paid, total suspension, not local services.
So 0. But the school, the third part is budget below 0%? Well, we have available funds below 0%?
Yeah, our available funds this year are less than last year, but part of that is the shift in the percentage. I think last year the selectmen, if I recall correctly, and Bob or Sean or Jeff will know this, but I think they slid more money over to us, which increased that percentage from 66 to 67. I think that's correct.
Yeah, I mean, I understand. Percentage is that. I just want to understand.
But I think that's why we are I think the available funds are less this year for us than our budget was last year. And I have that here somewhere.
That's right here.
Right.
And on the municipal side,
If you look at the available funds for 2010, the town budget was $11,406,000. That's the situation. We moved some additional money over to the school side last year. This year, the town number with a 66-34 split is $11,400,000. So a little over $100,000 more than last year.
I'm sorry, Bob, could you say the number for last year?
$11,406,629.
And for this year was 11,420,000?
$11,800,000.
Oh, I'm sorry.
School budget last year was $22,902,875. And this year is $22,945,158. It's that 1% change.
Right.
Which is approximately $400,000.
Okay. Maybe this is a chicken egg question, but it seems, to say in political sense here or there, the percent isn't as relevant as the dollar amount for what's available for each side. And I don't want to take more than my allotted time. The 22,902 doesn't necessarily match the level services, but I'm sure there's something in the calculus,
Well, level, one of the things is that when the school budget presents the number, they've already taken into account the offsets that they have. So the number that they're looking for, $23,300,000, and does not include approximately $2 million for offsets.
Correct?
So the total school budget is the $22,300,000 plus almost $2 million additional.
Yes. So, just like I said, is there a reason it has to go back to the 66? I mean, is there something like contract that it has to go back to the 66-34 instead of the 67-33 split? I know
Well,
that it's.
if we go back a few years, the split was 60-40. And over the past few years, slowly but surely, we've been inching that up. I mean, if you take a look at it, the school budget is growing percentage-wise at a much higher rate than general government. And last year, in the process of trying to maintain decent levels of school services, we made last-minute adjustments. Now, we're meeting next Monday for our budget hearing, and we're here tonight to get the impact. There may be some additional change.
I was just curious, if there's a reason, like, if we have to go back to 67, if the numbers are needed in the school versus general government, why wouldn't we keep it the split we had last year?
Because the split was artificial. It was done in the process of trying to get the school budget up.
It was done one of the things, at the October town meeting, there was, I think it was $286,000 or some number to that amount was basically handed over to the school department in order for us to meet a deficit that we had, and I think that put the split out of whack.
The amount of reserves that we had, that, slowly have eaten into this economic downturn. So, I mean, we've been walking this fine line. We've actually, I think we've done quite well considering the economic impact and the fact that the local aid is way down. And in addition to local aid being on our local receipts are off. Motor vehicle excise tax, interest income is on, building permits is on. The only thing that's gone up a little bit are our penalties and fees because people pay the bills late.
But it's one pot of money, so if the town side gets a percent less, then they get less dollars, obviously. We get a percent more, we get more dollars. But it's just one pot of money. And the way it's divided is really by town meeting. There's no statutory or agreement or anything else. It's basically town meeting makes the adjustment, usually on the recommendation of the Finance Committee and the School Committee and the Board of Selectmen. But as Bob says, it's gone from 60 to 67%. And I want to remind you, a big part of that is the enrollment graph that you saw on the screen here, so that the enrollment continues to go up. Now it's starting to come down a little bit. But over the last 10 years, really, the enrollment's increased significantly, and our school budget has increased probably at a faster rate than the town side budget has.
And as a guy who, would like every dollar to come to the schools, the town side, I think, has taken a pretty big hit over the last few years. They aren't filling open positions, especially at the police department. They've got the Quinn bill issue to deal with, where the state basically said, we're not going to pay your half of the Quinn bill anymore, so you guys find the money, and if you don't, you're going to get sued, which is, I don't know how many suits have been filed against the town by the police department, and those guys are losing a big hunk of their salaries this year.
Huge salary cuts as a result of the state not funding their half of the Quinn bill.
Certainly, one of the points of us coming together is to send a message to those that make the decisions or what our priorities are in town. It can't be us versus them. It has to be all of us deciding what level of services is acceptable. Do we look at decreasing the school staff, public safety staff, DPW staff, town hall staff, or services to, parks and recreation, the elder services, the library services, because we can't continue to do business in this type of manner if this is the best you're going to see in a school budget for a number of years, because again, we've had all these offsets, we have a decrease in special education, and we have, a 1% in our salary contracts. Never are all those things going to happen again. This is the best of times.
And we're maxed out on fees.
Right.
Exactly.
We have no place to go with fees. We've maxed it out, at least in my opinion, we have.
Now, there will be a time where we'll talk about an override. There certainly isn't the economy to do that in. But if you recall, a few years ago, the school committee promised if we got an override, that was a minimum amount, that we would budget for 3 years, and it would allow us to grow our services along with our increase in students. And we did. And it 3 years, it worked. We met our needs, and we kept class sizes down, and we didn't eliminate programs. Someday, the town is going to have to face that proposal once again. In the meantime, we've got to get our priorities in order as a community, not just as a school system saying we're willing to have these staff members. It's got to be town-wide.
Right. I think what would be most helpful is the community help us identify the priorities. I mean, it's one thing for me to get an email from somebody saying these are the people I'd cut, because I have gotten those, and that's not what we're trying to do. We're certainly trying to understand what the community values so that we can work together to come up with, the best worst case here, because we're not talking about things we want to talk about, which is how to enrich our students' education and provide the environment they need to excel and to get out of this system being prepared for life. And we do that very well. I think we are a model. One thing through the superintendent interview process was that, this is a very desirable community to come to, and we're doing very well. But, we keep facing these situations. And I know from the community that it's very frustrating to have this happen and think the state is not listening to us. They're not listening to us. We've got a 4% municipal cut. We are looking at a situation where, our reps are listening to us. I mean, I've worked with our reps and told them, I think each one of us has told them the situation we're in. And I think the community is doing a great job of communicating to that. It's communicating outside of our little community here. I just don't see that this is going to improve. I echo what Mel has said, that the next year or two is somewhat frightening, and we are going to have to make hard decisions. We just need help to make those hard decisions.
Can I comment on your statement? I think everybody here values education.
Yeah.
So you ask what people value in education. I think you could survey 10 people in the town and ask them why they moved here. It wasn't because of, police. It wasn't because the roads
Right.
are perfect, during the winter when you drive on a Sunday morning or during the day. It wasn't because the school is open every day. It it was because of the educational system.